Speaking of Niners, I think Shanahan could be coach of the year. Totally resourceful. No Kittle. McCaffrey had 30 touches last week, or 31. They're waiting for Ayuk to come back. Debo's now a commander. Mac Jones actually sneaky moves once in a while, shows his mobility, but not as much as Purdy. When you look at their offense today, they've had to be very resourceful. I mean, Bosa, Warner, Hufanga, Greenlaw, they're doing the most of what they have. What is their offense right now in San Francisco? What do you see?
Well, I think they want it to be run first, which always is the way Kyle Shanahan starts. And I thought last week was a great example because you have to beat your opponent every week. Obviously, you have an overriding philosophy. You've heard really good offensive coaches talk about that. I've heard Sean McVay talk about that. But then you also script that philosophy to your opponent. And last week against Atlanta, not a big front, they ran the ball inside, and it was their best running performance of the season. 65% of McCaffrey's runs were inside between the tackles. And do not discount the impact that George Kittle makes as a blocker. And not even on blocks where, let's say, he's play side, because what I noticed watching the film, Colin, even when he was a backside blocker, he can block defensive ends one-on-one. And you know what that allowed them to do? Double team on the inside and move people on the inside. And McCaffrey obviously had the big game. He had a ton of 10-plus yard runs. And also, he's got over 500 yards receiving already. So he's on pace for over 1,000 receiving yards.
Yeah. I want to talk about Dallas. We got into this just.
No, we're not going to talk about Dallas. We're going to talk about the 49ers. Yeah, the name of the game has been feed Christian McCaffrey. And it's been awesome to see. It's been awesome to see. Shanahan is elite at unlocking a player like Christian McCaffrey. You could make the argument, I don't even think it's much of an argument, that no one knows how to utilize a Christian McCaffrey type player better than Shanahan. And that's when this offense really takes off and really transforms. And so it's just a masterclass nearly every game. And that's why it's going to be fascinating to see what they look like against the Texans. The Texans defense specifically. Obviously, no one's exactly afraid of the Texans offense right now. But the Texans defense, that is what I'm fascinated to see, how the 49ers match up in this game. I mean, think about it. The 49ers have been winning. The Texans have been not winning. And yet the Texans are favored. Pretty interesting. If you ask, which team do you think is playing better football? It's no question. There's not even a doubt. There's not even a hesitation. It's clearly the 49ers. It's clearly the 49ers. And even though they're all banged up and having their issues, which they are, but yet they're still playing high quality football, which is what was kind of disappointing against the Bucs, because they're banged up and, you could explain that, but they still weren't playing up to their standard of play in that game. And so I am curious to see what Mac Jones looks like against his defense. And again, Mac Jones has impressed me. Even in a game that wasn't necessarily even impressive in a traditional sense, like against the Falcons, I still was actually pretty impressed. There was still enough plays where I'm just like, there was this one play where he was moving around and he was, he wasn't like scrambling in the traditional sense, but he had a great balance between having defense kind of like, what am I about to do with the ball? And he waited at the perfect time to have the defenders start to creep up ever so slightly to try to maybe get after it, Mac. And then he was able to throw the ball. And it was just timed and executed perfectly, that a lot of times those situations can feel rushed or feel, more uncomfortable. And I was just impressed with it, and that was just obviously an isolated play from Mac Jones. I continue to be impressed with the composure. So I think there's nothing to not be impressed right now with the 49ers playing, but this will be one of their tougher tests right now, because it's clearly an elite defense, and it's a defense that is playing at an incredibly high level. Now, will the Texans defense eventually run out of gas because their offense isn't doing anything, and then eventually you're just like, we're bad, we're done, we got nothing left in the tank, and you just kind of go into self-preservation mode. I don't know if they're at that point necessarily just yet. Plus, there's still plenty of pride and still believe, hey, we can still get this going. So I imagine you're going to get, as devastating and as tough of a loss the Texans had against the Seattle Seahawks. There was probably still enough juice there, enough turnovers, enough belief of, hey, we can maybe pull this thing off. We can maybe kind of get back on track. I think you're probably going to get a pretty energized Texans team, especially defensively. And now with the banged up defense for the 49ers, how does that, is there a place for CJ Stroud to feel more settled and get things going? It'll be interesting. Robert Saleh has been also, putting on a master class with what to do defensively, honestly. And so Robert Saleh had everyone in the right position. Going up against the Falcons, I wouldn't say, hey, that it was a great defensive stance, but listen, there were some plays, there were some moves, there were some throws that were just missed. You could have said that about the Lions game going up against the Bucs, and they're both defenses that are well coached, that are dealing with some injuries. And so that's what made it even more impressive for me for the 49ers defense. So, it's this matchup will be sneaky interesting. We're about to see, I think, really how resilient and how deep this team is, and what can Mac Jones now do against an elite Houston Texans defense. I'm interested to see how the Texans try to contain and take away Christian McCaffrey, which then, will they be able to still force their way through that, or will more of the burden be put on Mac Jones? I feel this game on a really zoomed in lens, there's going to be a lot of interesting matchups here. A lot of interesting matchups. I'm more fascinated to see the game plan that Shanahan brings to the table here, and what he tries to do with Christian McCaffrey, and how much does he put on the shoulders of Mac Jones. And then defensively, I'm fascinated to see what Robert Saleh has in store with against CJ Stroud, because it's gotten really ugly at times, really ugly. And if Robert Saleh can continue that trend, I'm interested. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the 49ers taking on the Houston Texans? Have you been impressed with how the 49ers have been playing, and who you got in this game? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all generally feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.